Hello and welcome to my channel. It feels a long time no see because it has been. I haven't filmed anything for nearly a month. December saw me hit with the flu and just knocked me out, so I was really trying to get a video up before the end of the year. It's New Year's Eve tonight. I am really pushing it, so I thought I would just join you on New Year's Eve to say I hope you had a lovely Christmas if you celebrate it. I hope that you're enjoying the end of the year. If you're catching this after your night out and your festivities for New Year, I hope you had a wonderful time. Happy 2025. I can't believe 2024 is nearly done, but I thought I'd end the year without a big silence and an absence, but with a video. I'm going to do a tag today. So this I saw on Chanel Chapters. I also saw it on Nicole's channel, Nicole the Cottage Witch. It's actually a booktube tag. It's the end of year book tag, but it can be done with tarot as well. I'm going to use books and I'm going to link it to tarot decks, so you're getting two for the price of one. There are 5 prompts. The first prompt is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? Absolutely. Now, one of my goals for 2024 was to read more Shakespeare. I am very close to Stratford-upon-Avon in England. I live almost on the edge of Shakespeare country. I drive past Anne Hathaway's cottage literally 5 times a week. And I have done really well reading Shakespeare. I do feel like I've really got into reading Shakespeare, but for some reason I started the year by trying to read The Taming of the Shrew. You can see from my rather glorious dragon bookmark that I haven't finished it. It's because I put this in a cupboard and couldn't find it. I found it at the end of the year, so I haven't finished The Taming of the Shrew, which I would like to read next year. There's always another year. And on the same theme of Shakespeare, I was reading Germaine Greer's Shakespeare's Wife, which is a really in-depth analysis really of who Anne Hathaway was. So I've taken this book a number of times to Anne Hathaway's cottage. Like I said, I literally drive past Anne Hathaway's cottage 4 times a day. I've got a yearly pass to all the Shakespeare houses, so it is no hassle for me just to pull in and stop off and go and sit in the gardens to read, which is what I did with this book. Now, Germaine Greer, if you've read any Germaine Greer, you'll know that she's very scholastic in the way she writes. There is a lot to take in. I stopped this and needed a break from it. I am that far through and I need to finish it. It's brilliant, but it does take work if you want it to sink in, so it might be a reread and a finish for next year. And then another book that I started in December, which a bit like Germaine Greer, a lot to take in, is a book that I got from the library, which is Chapters in Mythology, the poetry of Sylvia Plath. So this is a sort of dissertation about the breakdown of Sylvia Plath's poetry and to finding her personal mythology within the way she used language. It is absolutely brilliant. It's fascinating. This is actually the library copy, which I'm going to take back because I've actually bought my own copy now. I got half this far through and thought I need my own copy of this book. A bit like the Germaine Greer, it's quite a heavy read if you want it to sink in. So this will be another reread and another finish in 2025, but it's brilliant. Oh, there is one more book as well that I started and I didn't finish. If Women Rose Rooted. This is a non-fiction by Sharon Blackie. And what it does, she takes different aspects of nature, like pathways and finding pathways, or islands, or wells and waters, and she links them to like a feminine spirituality. It is really fantastic. You see, look, I'll use anything as a bookmark. This is a beautiful paper bag I'm using as a bookmark. I've loved it, but I'm going to have to go back and reread it and start again with it, because for some reason it's just one of those books I just put down and didn't pick up again. I got distracted. So again, there's 4 books there that I think I'll start again in 2025 at some point. Now, the decks that go with these books, If Women Rose Rooted, actually has its own oracle. These are the backs. And for a long time throughout the summer, I did work with this deck and I loved it. So you can see you've got different aspects of the landscape. You've got sort of very female centered goddesses. Now you've got the power of the land there, and you can see it's a very female image. You've got aspects of the landscape like lake, what lurks beneath, and you can see you've got a sea serpent in there. The Isle of Women, Women's Mysteries, like I say, is a very female focused deck. Shape-shifting, very earthy, very sort of land based, very goddess based, very spirit of place based, and it's just my cup of tea. Now I used this in the summer when I was using tarot and oracle to kind of take me on magic adventures, and this card is the card that I pulled in my weekly spread, which led me to see if I could find any meadows nearby, and that led me to the most amazing wildflower meadow. So I did have some really lovely adventures with this deck in 2024. Now, on the Shakespeare theme, all those Shakespeare books I still have to read, this probably was one of my favourite tarot decks that I worked with in 2024. This is the Shakespeare Tarot, which comes with this incredible guidebook, the Shakespeare Tarot Key, the book of the play. It's sort of based on like the Oxford World Classics book. It is just brilliant. The write-ups for every card take you into the play, also take you into the tarot meaning, also takes you into Shakespeare's life. So this book just in itself is just fantastic. And this deck has been a really nice companion for me for beginning to read Shakespeare. The Shakespeare plays that I've done, I've sorted out like the 3 or the 4 cards that are linked, and it's just helped consolidate holding the memory of what I'm reading. You can see these cards are incredibly detailed. They depict scenes from all of Shakespeare's plays, and it is just a delight to use. It isn't one of those decks where you could just pick it up and understand the image straight away unless you've got a really good working knowledge of the plays of Shakespeare. The book does give you just general tarot meanings, so you could just work from it if you know your tarot and just use the meanings, but there is so much more depth to this deck, as you can see by the amount of detail in the cards and quotes from Shakespeare and links to the meanings of the play and the different characters. It is one of those decks, I think, if you have an interest in Shakespeare, or if you want, say, a new project to begin to read more Shakespeare, and you also have an interest in the cards, then this is brilliant. Like the last Shakespeare play I read in December was The Winter's Tale, and this card, which was actually the first card I ever pulled from this deck when I hadn't read The Winter's Tale and I didn't know what this card meant, is actually from The Winter's Tale. It's for Perdita, who really is a character that revolves around the meaning of the flowers, and it was one of my favourite cards just visually in the deck. Now I know who the character is, it just means so much more. So it is a really lovely deck to sort of fall into and work deeply with, and it's definitely been one of my favourites of 2024. You can see at the back, it's like this book. And it would be remiss of me to move on without getting this little purse out and sharing my other Shakespeare Tarot, because this got used in visits to Anne Hathaway's garden. It's called the Shakespeare Oracle, but don't be confused, because it isn't an oracle. Even though it's called the Shakespeare Oracle, it is indeed a tarot. The minors in this deck, you can see, are a lot more pippish. The majors are more to do with the characters. Each card has a Shakespeare quote across the middle. That Shakespeare quote doesn't always line up with the card meaning if you know your tarot. Some of them are a lot more random than others. Some fit, some don't. But even so, even when they don't, I find they've been pertinent to the reading that I've pulled. Absolutely wonderful to sit in Anne Hathaway's garden up by the beehives in the garden and to use this deck. It is, again, one of my favourite decks. It's definitely been one of my favourite decks to use in 2024 because I've been out on adventures with it. And for me, that idea of story and storytellers, tarot and art and images and words all coming on adventures with me is just what I love. So those have been the decks that kind of fit with that prompt. Okay, prompt number 2 is, do you have an autumn book to transition you into the end of the year? Right, I'm going to take you through to my spare bedroom, which used to be my collector's room. It used to be my doll room. I also have a doll channel if you aren't new here. However, there have been some changes in December, and the books I want to talk about are on a certain shelf in there, because now it's part doll collecting room, part library. So I'm going to take you through. You wait till you see what I've been doing in there. So here we have what is actually a teeny tiny little bedroom, spare bedroom space. It's got a mirrored wardrobe here, so you can see actually it's really tiny, but it's full, as you can see, of bookcases. And because I've been collecting books at the end of the year, I just thought to myself, my gosh, I've got so many bookcases in that doll room. I wonder if I could pare back some of the dolls and rotate the dolls more and have it as almost like, well, I could call it a doll library. It's a library with dolls in it. So that's exactly what I've been doing, and I will do a video at another time to show you how I've arranged it. But I've had so much fun doing this over December. Now, the prompt 2 was, do I have an autumn book to transition into the end of the year? We're on like the last day of the year, so I know I'm late with this video, but it's on this shelf here. First of all, look at my little mouse. Isn't she beautiful? That was knitted and sent to me for Christmas from a subscriber, Jacqueline. I just love you to pieces. Thank you so much. It's on a shelf with my very favourite author, who you can see is Tove Jansson. Now, Tove, oh my gosh, I love her writing so much, and for Christmas I completed the series of buying myself these books. So some of these I actually haven't read, and that is just so exciting to have these now all in. So in December rather, I did read this Moomin Land Midwinter. Oh my gosh, 5-star. I completely adored it. But I could have started with Moomin Valley in November, which is a very autumnal read, I think. And you can see there's a nice transition there as I'm looking here. Look, I've got a Shakespeare Tarot card pulled out there. So when I bought the whole set of these, I thought, what a lovely what a lovely transition through the year. That could be, look, there's a summer one here. It could be that every year I use these kind of almost like a palette cleanser through the seasons to move from season to season. So that's what I intend to do with these now that I have a complete set, to organise them to fit the seasons and to use them as like a transition through the year. I've also got one of the books of the comic strips. I do want to get some more of those, to be absolutely honest. And I have to admit, the last time I spoke about Tove Jansson on the channel, I said that she'd only ever written 2 adult books, a winter book and a summer book, which I've got downstairs, which again, those 2 books are nice for transitions, aren't they, through the year. And then I double checked and she hasn't. She's got a number of adult books. To tell you, I was excited in December to find that out. Oh my gosh, I squealed. So I ordered this for December. This was a December read, another 5-star. Her writing is just, oh, it's sublime. It's sublime, whether it's the children's writing or the adults' writing. So I would say those would be my palette cleansers and my seasonal transition books, if I were to say I had any at all. Yes, of course, we can't forget about Gothlit November. This is kind of my autumn and gothic fiction shelves. I've given 2 for that because doing Gothlit November made me realise I needed more than 1 shelf for those type of books, because I loved doing Gothlit November. I think Gothlit November and sort of autumnal books is going to be something I really look forward to doing every year, if Rachel and Bailey hope to do it again. I loved it. I know Nicole loved it too. I loved watching everybody's videos. Oh my goodness me, I loved it. So this bookcase here is kind of a seasonal transitional bookcase as well. I've got spring and summer books up here with spring and summer inspired dolls. I've got gothic literature books and autumnal sort of Halloween type books as well, with, look, the Mad Woman in the Attic kind of Cindy doll. Down here I have my winter books with my winter dolls. We've got Barbie ice skating. I need to fill you in on how my winter reading went, because some of those books are now read. So I have a transitional seasonal bookcase, go me, with lots of Barbies at the top. So yeah, I've had fun in here, guys. I really have. Oh, hello Luna. She snuck in. Hi baby. She snuck in while I was in my doll room. It literally doesn't feel like my room without a dog in the background. So anyway, seasonal transitional books. You can see that I've tabbed this, even though it's a kid's book. It is so beautiful, and you've got all of these original illustrations through them, and of course you've got the Moomin character there. My gosh, I love these books so much. So I thought, what deck could I have used for a transition that kind of feels like Moomin Land? And I thought about the Kawaii Tarot. Can you see these sort of podgy white unicorns on the front? It kind of had a similar vibe going on. And also you've got, it's clouds, but it could almost feel like snowy landscapes. It's very cold, the colouring of this deck. It's very like bright blues and sort of whites, lots of white in there. But you've got these cuddly creatures which just remind me of Moomin Land. So the palette's cold enough to kind of fit a transition into winter, but it's got that sparkly element that I think makes me think of Christmas decorations and fairy lights up, because for me, I love that about winter. It's my favourite thing. It's like the Christmas tree going up and all the sparkly lights and like colour everywhere inside, and it's that juxtaposition of the sparkly richness of colour that's so in your face indoors, against that sort of crisp white and blue of outdoors. And for me, the Kawaii Tarot feels like that. It feels like that juxtaposition of sparkles and colour against icy cold snowy skies, and I love it. I really love it. Plus it makes me feel like a big kid to use, and if you can't feel like a big kid at the end of the year with Christmas and New Year and parties and gift buying and yummy food laid out, then when can you feel like a kid? Even though I'm a single mom with 3 kids, it's also a hell of a lot of work, hence the fact that I didn't bounce back very quickly with my virus because I was just so tired all the time. It was still magic. I was really poorly, but it was still magical. Did I love every minute of December, even though I was poorly? Oh yes. Did I go to every school event and school fair and love every second, including taking Tilly back to her old school for additional events? Oh yeah. But I didn't bounce back very quick because of it, but it was still magical. So the Kawaii Tarot just felt completely perfect for that time of year when you eat too much cheese, or is that just me? So prompt number 3 is, do you have a new book release that you're waiting for? And the answer to that is just no. I don't have the budget for new book releases. I'm going to be doing booktube videos with books that I find in charity shops. I just don't have the budget to go and buy brand new books. But what I will show you instead, because that's a no to that prompt, I will show you, why don't I show you the last few books that I did buy, that I bought in, so the most recent through the door books for me. So this was my last read. I finished this book this morning of 2024. You can see it's tagged to death. It's gone up there with my all-time favourite reads ever. It was a 5-star. I adored it. It is J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan. Oh my goodness. I've read this before when I was a kid. I've always been a super fan of the Disney movie, also the real life action movie. I love that movie. So I've always been a fan of Peter Pan. And I thought I would do a reread because it starts off with the children flying out of the nursery window in winter. It's kind of got a wintry feel to the start and the end of the book. It just felt like a really nice winter read to do, and it was the most beautiful thing. I loved every second of reading this. It's magical, it's super deep, it's layered. There are so many themes interplaying that could and can be really impactful. It's a book I need to sit with. It's a book I'm doing a separate video about. I have got a really exciting video coming around this book, which I'm halfway through putting together and filming. Oh my gosh, this was wonderful. Also, all of my winter reading plans, you saw my winter shelf, kind of a lot of that got put down because my middle daughter, Poppy, asked me to do a buddy read with her of a series that she's already read, but she really wanted me to read it. Now, it is one of the ultimate joys of my life that me and my middle daughter have got the same taste in books. We discovered this when she got old enough to go to my bookshelf. I started giving her some of my favourites and she adored all of them. All the ones I loved, she loved too. So she is a complete bookworm. She reads all the time, and we both love fantasy books. So at Christmas and birthdays, all she ever wants is books, books, books. It's the only thing she asks for. This series I bought her last Christmas. This is V.E. Schwab's A Darker Shade of Magic series. So that's the first book. A Gathering of Shadows is the second book. I'm about halfway through the second book now, and then this is the final book, which arrived in the post this morning, A Conjuring of Light. I have bought my own versions because my daughter is incredibly careful with her books, whereas I like to tab and write on them, and I break spines. So I've got to the point now that I buy my own versions rather than panicking about destroying hers. So this was an unexpected read at the end of December. Like I say, I'm not all the way through this series yet, but I am also really loving it. So Peter Pan and a New Fantasy Trilogy were the last books that came through the door. Looking at the book covers of this series, I thought, wow, let's just find a deck, let's share a deck that's all about magic and has got white, red and black on, and I just thought it's got to be the Oracle of the Witch. These gorgeous red gilded edges. It's got the backs that look like that, and you've got keywords and phrases on there. So that says Hecate and Underworld. You've got the pentagram and talisman, and you can see it's a very limited colour palette all the way through. Puppets and sorcery, crystals and amplification, charms and enchantment. This is actually quite a nice oracle to use at the new year if you've got it. Like, say you're not quite sure where your spiritual practice might go if you've got one. Say you've got a spiritual practice and you pull this card as a guidance. It might be that you think, right, I'll start working with stones this year. Let's see how many different ways I can work with stones, which is what I did last year in 2024. This year's still just about. I worked with stones. Or it might be that you pull the cures and remedies healing card and you look at ways to use your magic practice for self-love. Or it might be that you pull the magnification magical tools card and you decide to focus on that for the year. It could be that you pull, say, 3 of these cards to kind of get a feel for what to focus on. Just a thought with the new year literally about to switch over. So it's a lovely deck. It's not a deck that I really use in readings like I would my other oracle decks, just because it pushes you into an area to work in rather than giving you a message. That's how it feels like for me anyway. But I thought it kind of linked. And that kind of fits in with prompt number 4, which says, are there 3 books? Give us 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year. Well, it's now 8:30 in the evening on New Year's Eve, so I don't think I am going to manage to read any more books. But if I was suddenly going to speed read a book, which I'm never going to speed read a book, let's face it, it would be to finish A Gathering of Shadows, which is book 2, and A Conjuring of Light, which is book 3 of this trilogy. Right, prompt number 5 is, have you started any plans for reading next year? Oh my gosh, have I ever? And this is why I was a bit sad I didn't feel well enough to make videos, because I've got some reading challenges that I would like to share on this channel. So I've always been on Goodreads. I recently went across to, I'm on Fable now, and I'm on Storygraph. And on Storygraph, it's really easy to set up a reading challenge. So I have set up a reading challenge for a prompt every month, which I will share in another video. I've already mentioned January and February, so that's what you need to know if you wanted to join in. January, I'm doing fairy tales and retellings, and February I'm doing Fang February, which is vampire fiction. Let me show you actually the bookcase behind me, and I'll take you back into the doll library as well to show you something in there. So this bookcase behind me in my bedroom, You can see I've got dolls. Oh, look, I collect all sorts of dolls. This has got my collection of Bradley dolls on. One of my very favourite Bradley dolls is this Little Red Riding Hood doll. She is on there along with Alice in Wonderland, because this is my shelf where I have been collating all of my books for the January challenge. So it is a start of a year where we get to retell our story. So I wanted to focus on retellings and fairy tales to go along with that idea of retelling. So a lot of these books I had anyway. This complete copy of Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales I've got, the complete copy of the Grimm's fairy tales I've had for years. This is a illustrated Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales I found in a charity shop for £1. Can you believe it? I have been finding other copies like Andrew Lang's fairy tales I'd never heard of. Also Angela Carter's book of fairy tales, which I can't wait to get to. There's also sort of companions and non-fiction about fairy tales which I want to read, and then there's lots and lots of different fairy tales. I thought, in homage for the Little Red Riding Hood doll, I might start with some of my Little Red Riding Hood retellings. I've also got a number of the 12 Dancing Princess retellings. I've got Shakespeare retellings. This is a retelling for The Winter's Tale. Oh, I've got poetry. I've got Fierce Fairy Tales by Nikita Gill. I will be doing my own a separate video for this soon, because I'm running out of time. It's January tomorrow. If I want anybody to join in, then I need to start making videos again, don't I? So that's plans for January. February, Fang February, is back in my doll library. Let's go together, shall we? So back in here, Fang February. So Fang February books are being guarded by Draculaura, who is my very favourite Monster High doll. Behind Draculaura, you can see I've got some Anne Rice Vampire Chronicle books, which I've been finding in charity shops. So I found a number of Anne Rice books now. I think I have got there's 2 there, and there's 4, and I have got the first one where is the first one? Is here. So I've got a number of vampire books that I've been finding in charity shops. There we go, Interview with a Vampire, Anne Rice. So can you believe I've been finding books, these big hardback books, £1 a piece. It's so good. Also I found Dracula in Stratford-on-Avon. Look at that Wordsworth classic cover of Dracula. It's quite terrifying. Never read Dracula, so I'm really excited about that. I've got a few other Dracula books as well that I can't wait to read. So yeah, Fang February, guys. The books are coming together for Fang February. This little bookcase here with my Draculauras on is going to be for my vampire fiction. So if you want to read along with me for January, for fairy tale retellings in January, then watch out for videos and just join in. If you want to start collecting some Fang February vampire fiction ready for February, then join in as well. Another exciting plan that I've got for my reading next year is I'm going to do a DIY literature degree, and I've been collating all the stuff I need for that. One of the aspects of that for 2025 is going to be Victorian literature. So I'm going to show you some of the classics that I found, all from charity shops. I think I'll just show you the Dickens that I found, because I do want to explore some of Dickens' writings in 2025. So these bottom 2 shelves at the moment have got a lot of my classics on. Can you tell we kind of gone for a Dickensian theme with the types of Bradley dolls that I've put out, but look at these books, guys. Don't they look new? they're not new. Well, the Anne Radcliffe books are new, but everything else isn't new. Like these Dickens books on the end, look at these, they don't look at all red, and they were 50p each. So I've got David Copperfield. Now if you want to join along with me to read some classics this year, and you think, yeah, actually I'd quite like to explore Dickens as well, I'm going to start off in January with David Copperfield. I'm not going to race to get any of these books read. I don't want to race with numbers for books this year at all. I just want to savour books. This is a chunky monkey as well, so David Copperfield is what I'm going to start with. So it just gives you a heads up if you want to join in, or if you're interested in going, do you know what, I'd like to study literature as well. Of course, it's not a real literature degree. I haven't got the time, and I certainly do not have the money to do a real literature degree. But when I visited Oxford to go and have a look round Oxford University colleges with my daughter, who leaves for university this September coming, I fell so in love with Oxford. I just thought, I want to do an Oxford University literature degree. So I'm going to do another separate video all about that, to kind of tell you the information that I've pieced together of what it involves. But yeah, definitely year one, if you're at Oxford doing literature, Victorian literature is part of it. I managed to get Pickwick Papers as well for 50p. We've got A Tale of Two Cities. I mean, look at these books. They are so amazing. Not Dickens, but look, I got an untouched version of Wuthering Heights as well, which I love. What else have I got that is Dickens? Here we go. Here are some other types of copies. I got The Old Curiosity Shop. I've managed to find Martin Chuzzlewit. I found and read A Christmas Carol, because I was doing the Christmas Dickens read along, which I failed at miserably. I managed to read A Christmas Carol, and then in this book, which I also found in a charity shop, I also read The Chimes. But those are the only two Christmas stories I managed to read, The Chimes and A Christmas Carol. But I did write a really long essay comparing the two, and I should really do a catch-up video for that, even though sickness stopped play. The last Dickens book that I've managed to find so far for next year is Bleak House, and with a sticker that seemed like it was joined on with cement, and that's the best I could get with the sticker off. But it was 50p, guys, and yeah, so I've got Bleak House as well. So I'm really excited to start doing a DIY literature degree with a focus on Victorian literature, and the fairy tales are going to be an area of interest as well. So that's exciting, and I hope that some of you will come along for the ride with me and read some Dickens with me, and then we can talk about it in the comment section, and I would love that so much. So with all of that in mind, my Christmas present to myself this year, and it is very similar to the Shakespeare Tarot, but for some reason you can pick this up mass market, whereas I think the Shakespeare Tarot is I think you can only get that like not mass market. So you've got a colour booklet like that, and you have backs that look like that, and you have cards that look like this. So apart from The Chimes and A Christmas Carol, I can't really tell you what these are. I know Oliver Twist from the fact that it's so heavily produced. Oh, by the way, these are gilded. You can tell this is new because they're a little bit still stuck together with the gilding. You've also got, by the looks of it, different coloured edges for the different suits, so that's really interesting. Yeah, so I know Oliver Twist. I also played solo violin for a theatre company once for their production of Oliver Twist, and I tell you what, if you're going to be a solo violinist playing the Oliver Twist soundtrack, there are some damn difficult bits for the violin, but that was a lovely memory. So Oliver Twist and some of the Christmas stories are the only cards I would recognise so far, but let's see where we get by the end of 2025 with this. So this deck and the Shakespeare Tarot, it's just really lovely to have that sort of accompaniment with your reading. So we're up to water now. Some of these are stuck together, so I need to go through it a bit more carefully and unstick them, which I'm not doing now. But again, really interesting, loads and loads to go on. If you're interested in reading these stories, then I think it's just, like I said, it's a lovely accompaniment. So those are my plans. So you can see I literally cannot separate my reading plans from all my other passions. Like the dolls are involved, the doll library is involved, my love of tarot and oracle is involved, adventures are going to be involved. I do not want to just keep my reading and my cards and my books in the house. I want to take it on adventures, and challenges are involved. I will link my Storygraph challenge down below. If you're on Storygraph, then go and have a look, and at the minute it's just me doing it, which is fine. If it's just me, I'm happy with that, but it would be lovely to have somebody else want to join in. It will show you what I've got planned for every month as a book challenge, so go and have a look at that. And if you're not on Storygraph, go and check it out. It's really easy and free to upload. It's free to join in. I'm not hiding anything behind paywalls. I want this just to be free for us all to have fun with. So thanks guys so much for listening to those 5 prompts and their answers, and coming around the house with me to see all the different things I've got planned. Have a wonderful end of 2024. We've only got a few hours left of it now. I'm going to edit this video now and see if I can get it uploaded before the end of the year, whilst also stopping my big dog from jumping through windows because he's so scared of fireworks. Okay guys, nice to talk to you. It's good to be back, and I'll see you next time. Bye.